Principle number 3 of Beginner's Pluck is actually to start out by dreaming small. You guys, when I get introduced sometimes on a stage, oftentimes somebody will talk about how I quit my job and bought a one-way plane ticket to Uganda, and I'm a big dreamer. And while it's very fun to be seen as someone who's this easy breezy big dreamer, I want to be really honest with you and tell you the story about how that actually went down. You see, when I was in college, I was passionate about issues that were facing women and girls who were living in extreme poverty and in conflict and post-conflict zones. I wrote papers about it, I did research, I marched in protests, I went on to get my master's degree, all the while plotting and planning this huge vision and dream of this corporate philanthropy thing. It was gonna bring millions of women and girls out of poverty. Then I graduated from grad school and I went out to find my dream job, and it turns out the New York Times is not very interested in hiring someone who's to do international correspondence, who's never really left the United States of America before. So I got a job at a big corporate communications firm, and I spent every day compiling media reports and helping big companies get bigger. And slowly, as tends to happen with my big dream, I had it kind of in my back pocket waiting, because obviously I needed a different job, I needed more of a budget, I needed more expertise before I could even think about getting this big dream off the ground. But every day that I kind of just spent thinking and dreaming about it, it started to feel more elusive, a little more impossible, a little bit more like kind of the silly remnants of this idealistic grad student who is now just out in the real world trying to make it. And then I had a moment where everything changed. I was sitting at my desk on the 18th floor in this cubicle, and I had this moment where I realized I said I was really passionate about this huge global issue of women and girls living in extreme poverty, but the reality was I didn't have a single friend who was a girl who grew up with this experience. I had this incredibly humbling and sobering moment where I realized that I had spent all this time thinking and dreaming and pontificating about millions of women, and all the while, the sacred value and importance of just one clearly got lost somewhere along the way. And I'm sitting there with tears streaming down my face when, without even really realizing it, I kind of trade in that huge dream, and it becomes really, really small. My new dream becomes not about bringing 1 million women and girls out of poverty. My new, microscopically small dream is making one friend, knowing one woman, being in relationship from and learning from one girl who grew up unfairly asked to shoulder the burdens of the world. That was it. I didn't need $1 million budget to do that. I didn't need any experience. I didn't need any permission, which of course meant no excuses. The moment I kind of traded in that big dream and I started dreaming really, really small, what actually ended up happening is I became a doer instead of just a dreamer. I bought a one-way plane ticket and I moved to Uganda. Can you imagine what my parents said about that? So I quit my first job in the height of the recession to move to Uganda. They were like, Uganda? We've literally never left the United States. We grew up vacationing in Destin. And no offense to Destin, but they were like, you're moving to Uganda? Okay, wait, you're moving to Uganda to do what? And I'm like, Mom and Dad, I'm going to make a friend. And they were like, can't you just join a running club like your sister? There's no one that wants to hang out with you here? But here's the thing. What Pluckies know is that small dreams have a surprising power of catapulting us out of waiting and into creating. What Pluckies know is that you're never going to find your passion because your passion actually isn't out there in your dreaming waiting to be discovered, but your passion and your purpose is made in your doing.